Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of our chess speedrun. Today we are going to be playing another 10 plus 5 rapid game. In our last game we had a pretty close game that ended up resulting in a loss for us. It was pretty difficult and I feel like we fought to the very end, but we were unable to come up with a win. Today I'm hoping we're going to have a bit better of a game, play a little bit better, make less mistakes, and overall just have more instructive value in every move. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to play 10 plus 5 rapid, and I'm going to make sure I explain every single get the insight into why I'm making, and so you can take those ideas into your own game. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. And I'm wondering whether we are going to get the black or white piece today. For one, we have different openings that we are playing, and today we do get black pieces. 13. Our opponent starts with d4, and we've been playing the Grunfeld mainline d4 recently. With that, with knight f6. We're going to see what our opponent goes for, whether they go for London. Looks like they go for the Jobava London. Now, the Jobava London is a very interesting opening that is signified by knight to c3. Our opponent refused to play c4 like how you do in traditional pawn openings. We're going to play d5 and then e6. We might also play a6. Right, and we can strike at the center with 5 immediately here. Let's go for it. We can develop our bishop. Right, and our opponent decides they want to develop. We're going to develop our knight, pressure the center. Opponent is going for a3. And what are the moves we have available to us? I kind of like, it's very interesting. 5. It can set up the discovery, which is kind of annoying. That's the only problem with the queen a5 move. I want to restrict our knight from jumping in. So I like b6. Nice because get another pawn supporting our pawn, and we're also have a method to develop our bishop now. Quite nice. Develop our knight. Pressure the c4 square. We want to encourage our opponent to take like this. Encourage him to play this move, knocking our knight away, but also giving up the c4 square. And we want to play for this square. Pretty easy for us to feed our bishop. Possibly put our bishop on a6, and also slide our rook over, controlling the file. As we're going to see here, I feel like this 4 square could be a vital square if our opponent makes. Notice my plan. I don't want to develop this bishop too preemptively because I don't want to lose a tempo if I have to. If we take our bishop, our opponent might take here and we tempo. So best course of action here. If I do like this, we can slide our rook over and then we can play c4. Take it anyway. Slide our rook over, threaten to take. Under protected nature of the knight. Our opponent's smart here. They will fianchetto or they will play bishop. Alright, and our opponent does jump their knight into the center of the board, wondering where their knight wants to go. are going to take, threatening the knight, as well as taking a free pawn. So if they take back like this, then knights. So the only way for them to take back is with, and from there we can apply some more pressure to. All right. Let's calculate these lines. First of all, queen takes d4 is the. I mean, I don't see anything else. I guess they could move this knight and then sacrifice another pawn. Option. All right, and our opponent gives check. And looks like we our king up. Right? Yeah, it looks like our king up. And our opponent's still in the same predicament that they were before. Take. And then we can drop our knight back like this, threatening this knight, forcing some change. Or he can drop his knight back to a post. Well, notice if he doesn't trade his bishop here, are going to be able to pawn structure side. And here we're in a position where we are up a pawn. We want a pawn in the center of the board, so the simplification is going to be in our favor. Almost definitely. Here, our opponent is threatening our rook. We can up, and we can also knight whenever we like. And notice this knight is just going to be crippling the pawn structures. Take it. Are not worried about that factor in it. Take here. Drop our king back so we can develop this bishop. We are looking to trade pieces. So this bishop move is an incredibly good one. Our opponent gives it a check with the queen. Offer a queen. Plenty of options for us here. And there's also an imbalance of material. Our opponent has two bishops. We've got a knight, and a knight can be versatile in these kinds of positions as well. Jump our knight to the center. Pressure. I do like our position. The only thing that slightly of concern is that our king is much less safe than our opponent's king, which is castled safely. So that's another key factor that we need to take into account. Simplification, good for us, not only because of material count, but also because of the king position. And here we see this going into play. Our opponent is actually playing very negligently, to be honest. First of all, we can play this bishop move right now, bishop c5, and their last move made it. So this is not only an attack on the bishop, but also a pin on the bishop. This bishop is going to be traded off one way or another, whether they allow us to take or we back when they. So I'm feeling very confident about this kind of position, and I'm not sure what we should do with the pawn structure. I'm thinking rook on the open file is probably the best move. That's what we're going to. A rook pressure like this, and our queen slide over to c7 and start creating pressure as well. Make the legendary triple stack with gate. So I like our opponent's move in some respects. F3 is a nice move, restricting our knight from jumping to any of these squares. But our knight's going to reroute, and it has a nice square on c4, which is an excellent square. And I'm not really too sure if our opponent takes here, we're going to have an even better square, d5, right in the center of the board. I like this here, preparing some invasion along the c file here. They want me there to open it up for us. That's excellent. And our opponent has pawn weakness here that can be exploited. Also, this simplification, nice for us, helps us develop. Preparing this rook invasion as well. Yeah, we are in great shape. Knight is on an outpost is square. An outpost is when piece is on a square and it cannot be knocked away by any of your opponent's pawns. So pawns can't do anything. No pawn that's ever gonna one or is attacking the knight. So this knight is outpost, and have a light square bishop off knight to a dark square, and he off for anything other than giving up an exchange. Not favorable. So rook would result in loss of a pawn. So before I do anything else, I want to encourage that from happening. Lift our rook here. An attack on the queen, also vacating this lovely c5 square from which our queen can check, possibly win material. Check here. Over. And we're going to pressure. Baiting rook move. We're going to start tempos that we're gaining. Bait our opponents, get our pieces. First of all, we're seeing rook is now on second rank, cutting off the king. His rooks are undeveloped. His bishop, while it is developed, is kind of on the side of the board, creating very little pressure. Our king for now is generally pretty not super concerned about our king. There's always ways to lose. First thing I'm noticing here that if we're working like this, our opponent does have this checkmate. A lot of that. Also, this allows this. Rook. Probably should do here. Drop our knight back. I think dropping the knight back is offering the trade. Pawn is kind of untakeable because of here. Right, and our opponent does go for the queen. I think it's generally a pretty wise choice. lagging here. Okay, and we are still up a pawn. Opponent's playing this pretty well. They're noticing that we cannot bring another rook to support this rook. Want to control the file that way. So basically, they're going to be able to win the file because we can't rook. So they're going to be able to take the file back. So what is the strategy here? Well, I think developing our other rook is likely the best thing. That's what we're going to do. Also give up the file, but like forcing him to take, giving us a pass pawn is have this pass pawn now. This defending the pass pawn, and we have a pass pawn. So our game plan is pretty simple. We are going to advance this pawn. We are going to use our pieces to support the pawn, allow it to march up the board. We are going to look for piece trades whenever we can. And basically our strategy. Our opponent's pawn structure is crippled over here. They have doubled pawns that are not neither passed. Excellent. And our rook is going to be right behind the passed pawn, which is where the rook. So our rook is heading for c7, by c7, and square as well. 7's a great square because it's a dark square, so our opponent cannot pressure it with the bishop. Our opponent would like to trade rooks. I'm all for that. Right, and our opponent does trade rooks. Really only be in our favor. Alright, and here what we're doing, very simple tactic. Our opponent does only have a light squared bishop, so we're going to put all of our pawns on dark squares. Never going to be able to target any of our pawns. Meanwhile, our knight is creating pressure on this a4 pawn, defending it, but his bishop is stuck defending it. Can't do much else. So our knight, which is a much more versatile piece, will be able to shine in the end. Looks like our opponent wants to run his king all the way down to here, but we are going to be able to f8 if he does start playing at king of 5. So king of 5, we can play 7, play 6, and we're going to play king f8, and he's never going to be able to get the pawn. So let's play this move, knight to d5. Goes for king f5. We can go for I was mentioning before. Not in time to get to the g7 pawn. Alright, and here our opponent has blundered his bishop, and it should be the game for us. Noticing forks like this help you can convert a lot of endgames, otherwise not have anything in, or otherwise be struggling. Here I'm noticing if here we can actually play this nice move. 6, depending on here, and we can just run this pawn up the board and win the game. Run our pawn. And there's no way for him to stop the pawn. His king is way too far out of position. Alright, and our opponent does resign. So I think that was a very well played game. I think our opponent didn't play terrible either. I think we had some moments that we look over, and I think that's what we're. So let's start with the beginning. Jobava London, also known as the Chigorin variation, and basically the idea is generally in these positions you want to play bishop eventually. The idea is to fast attack on c7, kind of how you do Italian game on sorry, not in the Italian game. What was I trying to say? Basically, you want to attack this pawn. You want to get a knight here. You want to try to fork the king. Strategy that happens in a lot of different openings, and it works because of surprise. Your opponent doesn't expect it, and boom, there's an attack, and no way to deal with it. But in this kind of variation, there is always ways to deal with it as long as you know what you're talking about. So we follow simple opening principle. Now, in these d4 pawn, you don't really want to develop your light squared bishop black. You'd rather play e6 time. This line, yes, you can develop your bishop to f5, but I'd say it's just safer to go with this. And we play c5 immediately. 5 is an important move for opening. You want to challenge the center. The engine says that we're actually slightly better. Because we got to play c5, we have center as white. We're going to be able to develop our pieces nicely. So that's why the black. Develop. And we just play normal. Put our knight on a5. Not because that's in the rim or anything like that. Side of the board because we want to pressure on the square. We want to encourage them. When it develops the bishop, we develop our bishop. And we just develop very simply. And notice that we always have this move. Have pawn takes in every move. Here we decide to play it. Our opponent goes for 5 option. I didn't see it initially, but of course, check you can it. Or king up. And apparently that was the wrong move. Apparently dropping the knight back was better. Trade. Well, I did see. I didn't see how sacrificing a pawn here. 5 moves. Incredible. Forcing our opponent to play this f3. And we win bishop. Wow. It's an incredible idea that I saw it far away, but I didn't play because I thought it was too 5 clearing away for the up 5. Play d sorry. 4 idea clearing away for the queen up to 5. Now bishop drops back and we here forking the bishop and the checkmate threat. Opponent has to respond to the checkmate threat, and then you win the bishop. So that's an idea I could have gone for, but I ended up not because it's so risky. Here we traded, and we created a long-term pawns. Another one here. Eventually, we were able to convert this. Or we up a pass pawn on the queen side, and we got this very technical. Run this pawn up the board. Possible, and you're winning. Defend our pawn. Try to get our rook into a better position. Opponent takes a rook, basically helping us get closer to endgame. Now, put all of our pawns on dark squares, targeted by the bishop, and the bishop. This position, basically run our pawn all the way up. We're going to whatever way we can. Lost. White. Alright guys, so that was the first time we ever played against the Jobava London in this run. I hope you guys like it. Our opponent really play fashion, but we're able to get an advantage. Small position once is an opening. Then we were able to win material and that. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe if you made it far. And I hope you have a good day.